first time fursuiting. I'm Nevermint, and this is my cohort, Codex.
Well, we have a handout up here if anyone wants to come up and get one. Welcome to do it now. We'll just get it out of the way. Yeah.
I'll get you one.
Dispense.
I was coming around.
That was unexpected.
I'm just being a nice ass.
Apparently.
Two? How many? I must feel like a teacher.
If I start talking like that, just shoot me, please.
I can picture that for you for some reason. Oh, you already know that. Want one?
Sure.
He's old hat. He doesn't need one, but, you know.
Oh, yeah. We have the same first name.
Oh,
Here we go. Would you like one?
No.
so get things out.
Go ahead.
Well, first I want to ask what's on the front of your pins there. Is it just black? Oh, okay. Interesting. All right, so welcome to Pittsburgh. Beautiful, beautiful Pittsburgh. I'm sure you all love the rain and the wind and the
Well, the wind isn't bad.
Well, luckily, I'll get into this first actually. Luckily, the weather this weekend looks like it actually might be good for like the first time in ever. It's supposed to be in the like mid to low 70s for Saturday and Sunday, which in June never happens here. Like at ACL 8, it was in the mid 80s and there were tornado warnings. 09, it was in the 90s and it was like 80% humidity. Last year it was a little better, it was like in the mid 80s. This year, something went wrong and we have good weather. There'll be some scattered storms, which is typical for this area this time of year. Like you'll be outside, it's beautiful and sunny, and then you look over and you're like, oh, okay, that's lightning, and you go hide somewhere for a little bit, and about 15, 20 minutes later, it's over, and you can go about your business. I got caught in that yesterday because I was dumb and said, oh, it's going to be a little bit before that cloud gets here, and then I got stormed up. Yeah. So for the parade, if any of you guys are going to do the parade tomorrow, if the route's going anywhere outside or anything, I don't know if it is or not, you guys won't actually be dying of heat stroke. So that's well, I mean, aside from just physical exertion. So I guess that gets to the first point here. You gotta remember that you guys are gonna get really hot, even with the weather being okay, just because of the exertion and the pounds and pounds of fur that you're covered in. So you're gonna want to stay hydrated. Find the headless lounges. There's one in the hotel, one over in the convention center. The convention center one is huge. The one here is kind of smaller, doesn't have as much normally in it.
They now have a clock in it, which is definitely helpful.
Wow, when did they do that? That is helpful. So you want to know where those are. The headless should be at the end of this hallway here, where it always is, I think. Is it there? Yeah. And the other one is just as you walk out of the elevators into the actual convention center, you go straight across, and it's right there beyond the glass dividers. So it's actually pretty close to the main areas that you need to cool off pretty quick usually. But luckily, if there's like a nice breeze outside, you can probably cool off outside even right now because it's not too bad.
As long as you don't go with a pretty rainstorm.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah. But the thing that goes along with that is also, you know, staying hydrated, drinking as much as you can without totally destroying your bladder. One of the most important things too with that is, you know, don't drink a lot of soda, sweet, sickeningly intense drinks, like not a lot of like energy drinks, probably not the best thing to do while you're in suit or close to when you're suiting. Do them ahead of time. Yeah, I know you're guilty of it, but you're a pro and you can handle it.
When I'm wearing a puppy suit that says, "Do not give me energy drinks," people give them to me.
Well, of course, well, that's your modus operandi there, so you know. But if you are going to be doing like a lot of stuff, you know, it's good to get something with electrolytes in it, something with sodium in it to replenish what you're sweating out. So you know your typical sports drinks are good. If you can't just drink water, you can always do like a half and half mix and water it down a little bit so it's not so strong.
Which is better.
Yeah, which is better because a lot of those drinks are so loaded down. They're for people that are just like, you know, being very, very active. But, you know, usually we're not too crazy active. It's just enough. So water it down a little bit, it makes it a little bit more balanced. How many people have heard of the golden rule of cons? 6 to 1. All right. So yeah, if you don't know that one and you want to try to get at least 6 hours of sleep, 2 meals and 1 shower. And with suitors, the 1 shower gets extended into infinite showers.
When you're doing your shower, make sure you can start off warm as however you want, but near the end, do turn it down. You want to cool your body down, because if you put yourself, a hot body, into a hot suit, it's going to hurt.
Yeah. All that heat just stays with you, and then you get back in the suit and you're like, okay, why am I so hot all of a sudden? And you start sweating more. It opens up, the heat opens up your pores, so more of your skin's oil gets out and goes into the suit if you're not wearing something that's gonna, you know, keep that from happening very easily. Yeah. Next one's the elevators. If you haven't noticed, they have a line that's blocked off and everything, but suitors get first preference along with 1 handler. So if you have a handler, you're good. They can help get you where you need to go. They get a ride on the elevator. Someone might come over and be like, hey, can I get a ride on the elevator with you, suitor? And I don't know. I'll leave that to your personal preference if you want to be that nice. But I've had it happen on numerous occasions. But yeah, they just do that because, I mean, if you're sweating and dying, you need to get up to a room pretty quick, usually. So they want to get you guys to the head of the line. But if you're also, if it's a time when they're not doing really much policing on the elevators and there are suitors and you're waiting for an elevator, try to give them first preference too. Because, you know, if you're suiting, you know exactly how it feels. So it's good to let them get ahead too.
Okay. So that's general information. We've already gone over weather.
Yeah. Then you've got the Pittsburgh specific information. I'm a local, so I've lived here my whole life, for better or worse. So I put, you know, June is hot and humid, which is normal, very normal. And this year it proved me wrong. So it's still humid, yeah, and that's important too because your sweat's not going to be as effective because of the humidity. It's not going to be able to evaporate as easy. So it's still going to be, you know, you're still not going to feel as comfortable as if, you know, you're in like the Southwest where it's dry as a bone. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like I was saying, the unpredictability of the weather, because we have, if you look outside and you came into the city before, you know, you have to go through a tunnel to get into the city because there's Mount Washington. And the way Mount Washington works is you can't see much weather coming because you have this huge hill and the weather comes from that direction. So when it comes over top of it, it kind of just all drops and it comes right into the little valley area here, and you get these sudden little freak bursts of wind and rain, and sometimes hail, and you just don't know ahead of time. So if anyone has a smartphone, get an app like the Weather Channel, or I think WeatherBug makes one. Yeah, or get Radar Now. It'll pop up and give you an emergency if there's a severe weather alert in the area. That saved my butt when I was driving out to California the one time, when I had to go through a freak storm that almost made me lose control of my car. I knew about it 10 minutes at a time because my phone was like, bleep. So it's really good to have that. With Pittsburgh, you have a lot of traffic in the city. Pittsburgh drivers are stupid. I mean, drivers in almost any city are stupid. But Pittsburgh drivers do some specific things, like the Pittsburgh left, which, if anyone watches sports and remembered Ben Roethlisberger getting into a motorcycle accident, that was the result of the Pittsburgh left. Someone did an illegal left turn against traffic, and he hit them on his motorcycle. But if you're out in suit and walking across the street, people will do illegal left turns into that road and not pay much attention to what's going on. So you got to be really careful of crosswalks and stuff, a little bit more than usual, just because it's a very common thing that happens around here. But then you also have things like the downtown area is pretty safe at night. There's not too much problem. There's not a lot of vagrancy.
Just watch out for the drunks.
Yeah, watch out for drunks. That's really important because Pittsburgh loves their alcohol. So if you're out around Tonic and stuff like that, and it's a really busy night, there's a lot of people bar crawling, you're going to get a lot of attention. Just be careful because some of them might not be giving you nice attention. So that's something really specific to be looking for too. There's a lot of different areas around the city for if you want to take a walk and get pictures. Like if you go down to the cultural district, there's some art installations that you can get neat pictures at. If you go down towards Market Square, there's a nice little outdoor square park area where there's lots of people. It's kind of a nice scenic area. PPG Plaza's the gigantic glass-sided building that looks like a castle. There's a couple of smaller ones around it. There's a whole courtyard there with a giant obelisk. It's a really neat place to take photos. So there's kind of really neat places to go. If you want to take a long walk, you can go up to Point State Park and go actually to the park. And there's the giant fountain right at the point on the river and do some really neat stuff there. But those are just some really specific things to the town that you guys might be interested in.
And of course, before doing all these, do scope them out with your own eyes. Don't wear your fursuit head, because you might find obstacles without your head on that you might not see while in suit. Because as you know, these things have restricted vision.
Yeah.
Because you might see from your nose up, but nose down, yeah, maybe not.
Yeah. That's another reason that it's good to have someone with you be a spotter, because they're going to be able to see all that stuff way ahead of time. Fursuit care.
All right.
Get into it.
All right, for fursuit care, I guess I have a proper victim right here. All right. Usually after you're suiting, what I usually do is the first thing after it, well before or after, is spray it down with NVAC. If you've gone over to the big headless lounge on the convention center side, they have about a dozen bottles of NVAC and maybe 1 or 2 bottles of like generic Walmart stuff.
I haven't been there yet.
Actually, can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
KP actually told us that's bad for a fursuit. It will actually cut your fursuit life in half.
No. It's yes or no on that one.
In back or the?
Oh yes. It's good on fur, but on foam on the inside of the head,
Yeah, that's what's
not a good
yeah.
idea.
Yeah, so if you have foam padding, keep it away from the foam padding. The best thing to use on foam actually is just alcohol in a spray bottle.
Yep. Rubbing,
Yeah, plain rubbing alcohol.
or rubbing alcohol or denatured alcohol, which is the pure version of alcohol.
Yeah.
So look for denatured because then you can drink it. It does not have ibuprofen.
Yeah. So you can also use like Lysol. You can use. I use it lightly. It's not as good as NVAC. It leaves a little bit more residue, but I wash the suits more, so it kind of balances out. Don't use Febreze. Use Febreze if you want just a nice smell, but don't use it to actually disinfect the suit because it has nothing to disinfect anything. They make an antibacterial Febreze. You can use that one, but it's nowhere near as good as NVAC is. That actually, you could probably use that up in the head and be okay too because it's just so inert, and it would get the sweat smell out of the head a lot better. But it's not going to kill that much, so you definitely want to stick with the NVAC.
Another thing is, the fur on these suits do mat, so do brush them regularly. Some of the headless loungers will actually have a cat brush. or a dog brush, but yeah, do brush these down.
Yeah, using a slicker brush is kind of, it's nice sometimes. Like I'll use it once in a long while if the suit gets really ratty because it will get the rats out. The problem is it pulls a lot of fur out.
Yep.
So the more you use a slicker brush style brush on a suit, the more it's going to pull fur out of the suit and you'll end up bald. I don't think anyone wants to end up bald. So I just use a regular, I have this old brush from like the 80s that used to be my sister's, and you turn the end of it and the little tines pop out, you brush, and you hit the button and the tines pop back in, and you can just take that little bit of fur right off. You don't have to dig through your comb and get rid of it. And a bunch of places make these type of brushes. And they're really nice because you don't have a bunch of tangled mass of fur left on your brush when you're done. It looks like, you know, you just brushed your dog for 2 hours. Or a dog suit for 2 hours. That's a really kind of good type of brush to find. It's just they're a little hard to find, but they still make them.
Now, after brushing or before brushing, the most important thing would be definitely, how do you wash your suit? For most of us, we usually turn them inside out, zipper them up, and then throw them in the washing machine without you attached to it. For me, I usually take mine to the laundromat because they usually have the huge front-loading washing machines. If you find one with an auger, it'll do a little bit more damage than it's designed to do, but it'll still get you clean, but not as good. With what kind of detergent to use? Whatever you prefer. I've heard of people throwing in a bottle of hair conditioner to make it the fur even softer. Armor Hammer baking soda is definitely a must.
Yeah.
Turn your suit inside out, throw in a cup of baking soda along with your favorite detergent or woolite. The baking soda is actually designed to pull out human oil, and it'll make your suit that much fresher and actually shinier too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When I wash it, my suits, I usually use fabric softener, but I use a little tiny bit. I don't use the recommended amount. I use just enough to get a little bit into the fur and get a little bit of that fresh smell, and fill the rest of the container inside of your washing machine up with water just to fill up the balance. It's just enough to make it effective, because fabric softener it's kind of like a double-edged sword. It can ruin fabrics if you get too much of it on a fabric. If you get just enough of it on a fabric, it's nice and soft and smells nice. If you don't use enough, it doesn't do anything. So it's a really fine balanced thing to find the right amount. I usually use about 1/4 to 1/3 of what the manufacturer recommends to a load. And that's perfectly fine for everything I've used. It's not messed up anything. Everything comes out perfectly.
Can you use bleach on white outfits to make them whiter?
I'd say use color safe bleach.
Yeah,
but
regular bleach I wouldn't. White suits, one of the best things to use on that is actually Folex. It's a type of upholstery and carpet cleaner that can be sprayed on and brushed out, and you don't have to wash it out. And it'll pull a lot of the dirt out of what you have. It's what I use on my St. Bernard Tango is like a lot of white around. And it's white on the paws. So if you hit the paws with a little bit of the Folex, it brings out a lot of the dirt, and you don't have to then actually rinse out the feet that are made of solid foam that are going to take hours and hours to dry. It's also really good for heads, because you don't have to get the head soaking wet. You just spray it where it needs it, brush it out, and leave it sit till it dries, then brush it again to smooth it over and make it look like it was never done. And they also make teddy bear cleaner, which is pretty much the same thing, and it'll do the same thing. It's just for spray it on, brush it, let it sit, brush it again, and you're done.
I'd say the most hardest part with washing the suits is the ones that actually have a whole bunch of airbrushing.
Yeah, like this.
I myself, this suit that I'm wearing is 100% airbrushed. It depends on what you want to do. Some of the airbrushing will actually stay in, and other times it will actually wash out. I haven't done this yet because I've only worn this once. For the suits that are heavily airbrushed, I would definitely stick them in a bathtub or like a huge action packer that's watertight. Stick them there with your woolite or conditioner, baking soda of course, and let it set in there. Occasionally move it around like like one of the washing machines would do. Lightly agitate, after like an hour or so.
Yeah.
Then throw it in the washing machine on the spin cycle, because I don't think you want to take that, from bent outside without doing that. But
And the spin cycle in the washing machine will pull out the majority of the water, and then when you go to dry it by hanging or laying it flat, however you wish to do it, it'll dry a lot faster. Like I have a suit that's very, very thick fur, and I could wash it and have it dry within about 4 hours. And that's like the thickest plush fur that I've ever seen on a suit. Was totally dry in 4 hours.
when it comes to drying, big no-no is don't stick it in the dryer.
Yeah.
If you want, make sure that the dryer has just air only. If it's even low heat, kiss it goodbye.
Yeah.
For me, since I live in Colorado, I really don't need to have any fans on it because I just stick it outside on a hanger and it's dry within a couple hours. Now, for those of you who live in an apartment, I would say definitely find a well-ventilated room and have 1 or 2 fans on the actual fur. And it will be dry within a few hours.
Another thing too is that if you get, everyone will get sometime in their suiting life will have a rip or tear, something break, something go wrong on their suit. Don't wait to fix it. Just get it fixed as soon as possible. Because the longer you leave something broken, the more damage might be caused to it by the fact that you might have more stress on that area and it's starting to go more. Like if you get a little tear somewhere under your arm and it's just a little tiny hole and you're like, oh, it's just a little tiny hole, it'll be fine. And then you're doing a lot of stuff like this all over the con like crazy, and you come back to your room and you're like, oh crap, and you can stick your fist through it. That's a little harder to fix.
Headless Lounge in the convention center actually has a fursuit repair area. They actually have a whole bunch of different threads, needles, hot glue, and a sewing machine.
Yeah.
And you can actually repair your suit, which, mind you, is recommended. Or if you don't know how to sew, ask someone.
Yeah. There's plenty of people here that know how to fix something if they have to in a pinch. So you always have someone you can go to. You just gotta, anyone that has a suit mostly, like, they know how to at least do a repair. I think that goes with the territory almost anymore.
Or modify it.
Yeah. So they'll know how to fix a little problem or change something if something's really bad. Like if it's so baggy in one spot that it's uncomfortable, you can take it there and sew it up a little tighter. It's certain things like that that also help the life of the suit go too, because if it's really baggy in a spot and it's really tight somewhere else, it's going to cause the seams to get weird and cause them to rip or tear.
And of course, for something like that, Anthrocon is full of panels, so I say go to basic fursuit construction. They'll teach you how to sew there too, and how to make little modifications on how to tighten or loosen certain areas of your suit. Because we're loaded.
So yeah, next thing would be like what to wear under a suit. Back in the old days, everyone, it was just t-shirts and shorts, and some people still do it. Some people still like it a lot. I personally like this that he's wearing right here. Lycra dive skin. They're dirt cheap. You can go to divers-supply.com, and they're always running deals on Lycra dive skins. They're usually, they can vary from, I think when I got mine, it was at its cheapest and it was $18.
But get a size above what their recommendations are.
Yeah.
I bought one that was a large, which was made for 6 foot to 6'2". It didn't fit me.
Yeah, mine was made for a little bit over my size, and it still was a little tight. Another important thing too is sometimes if you're getting one that's black like this, sometimes the black dye doesn't stay color fast when it's brand new. I had the problem where I put on a suit, or put on this suit, put on a suit, went out to the con, did a whole bunch of fun stuff, came back, took the suit off, looked at the inside of the suit and was like, well, that's weird, the backing looks a little purple. And then I pulled the suit off, and I'm like, oh, that's weird, my skin looks a little purple. So the dye had actually came out because of my sweat into my skin and stained my skin for the rest of the con in the sweat areas. So the way you fix that is when you get your dive skin, wash it immediately, And you also can, you can put in a little bit of vinegar, plain white vinegar. The acid in it will help strip out any of the excess stuff, and it sets it. And that'll keep it from bleeding anymore. And then you're fine, you're good to go after that. That's a really important thing if you have like a white suit, because you might end up having it get into the white of the suit, and you'll never, ever get it out.
And okay, so after you've done a day of suiting and you know your dive skin is going to be a little bit smelly, these things dry out within an hour.
10 minutes if you're really
right,
good at
yes.
winging. Yeah.
Yes. After suiting, you know you have to take a shower. Take this in with you, run the soap through it, wring it out, or if you want to get it dry quicker, you know the hotel rooms have the huge ass towels. Lay the dive skin on the towel, bring it, roll it up, and just beat some of it.
It's cathartic and it dries the soap.
Yes. What not to wear.
Yeah, what not to wear. Like t-shirts and tank tops, things like that, and shorts. There's still diehards that wear them and like them. I've done it before, and it's okay, but the sweat just, it doesn't go anywhere. It can get really nasty. So they're not really that recommended. I know someone that tried to wear jeans because that's all they had, and they ended up just being miserable. So, I mean, that's obviously a no-no. Anything that's a light fabric or a cotton blend, they breathe better, they wick sweat away from your areas where you're sweating into areas where you're not sweating, where it dries faster. That process cools you down faster because the evaporation creates cooling just like sweat normally does. So that's kind of the best option. So you got things like this, you got Under Armour, Nike's brand of whatever it is, Walmart's brand of whatever it is, rip-off Under Armour stuff. They'll all work. Headgear.
Headgear. Definitely get a balaclava. Mine's from Champa. Those will help keep the sweat out of your eyes.
Yeah. If you don't have one of those, something like a do-rag type thing tied in the back,
Or a gym sock.
or a headband. A friend of mine actually used a ShamWow once, and he said wow every time because it worked really well. He literally had it tied around his head. He cut a strip off of it, folded it in half, tied it around his head, went out and suited, and he's a heavy sweater. Took the head off, had no sweat in his face, took the ShamWow, and wrang sweat out of it. But it worked perfectly. So even that's an option. But yeah, it's really gross. It's an option.
As you know, with suiters, you're going to be on your feet quite often. A lot of the sports stores now actually have running socks, which they will have wool on the toes and on the ball of the foot. Those will help cut down on sore feet. I have a pair here. I didn't wear with this because the feet are good. But definitely look into a pair of socks as well, because sore feet at the end of the day, you're going to be grumping.
Yeah. Like especially if you have flat feet or any kind of flat feet or high arches or anything like that. Suiting is going to be very rough if you don't have very comfortable feet. I'm lucky that my suits all have really comfortable feet. My gator suit Codex has Crocs in his feet. He was built over Crocs. And those are like the most comfortable shoes in the history of man, I swear. I can be in those things for, the longest I was in that suit straight was 8 hours. And my feet didn't hurt. Everything else hurt, but my feet didn't hurt. So say you gotta cool down, you've got your headless lounges. There's a little bit of etiquette in the headless lounges. I don't know, is AC still doing the 20 minutes max when it's busy? No, because they did that last year, tried, and I think it failed miserably because you can't really police that.
It's not posted in either of the headless lounges.
Okay, good.
Because as you can tell, the big headless lounge, they have a huge rack this time.
I didn't see it. Is it awesome?
Oh, that's awesome.
Okay.
One squirrel cage dryer with like 20 different hoses off of it. And the thing is with the hoses, most of these suits, you can stick the little hose down it. That'll help you dry off. On either sides, they also have the box dryers with the heater hose attached to it, which is even bigger.
One of the things that you've got some old school etiquette here, like no photography,
Or at least try not
or
to.
try not to. And if someone really desperately wants a photo of you, and happens to be there, go to like a corner or a wall where you can't see anyone behind you, because there's people who don't want to be seen with a suit. You know, it's
Without their heads on.
So that's a typical thing. Don't go through and be like, oh my god, that head looks so awesome, and grab it, because yeah, he might shoot you. See that look? I've seen that look in the Headless Lounge from people because someone ran up and grabbed something they weren't supposed to. So if you know who it is, ask them. If you don't know who it is, just admire it from afar and be happy that you can see it at least. And if you see them come over and look at it, be like, hey, that looks interesting. You know, strike up a conversation, you might make a new friend.
Yep.
So you also have your water cups, long straws, things like that. Anytime you're in a Headless Lounge, stop, drink. I mean, I don't care if you're not thirsty. You might not even be feeling it. Just stop and drink something.
Yep.
It's just going to help you be able to stay hydrated. You don't want to end up being in like the fursuit parade like last year and have someone faint. It's the worst thing to have happen. Stop, people all around you. It's going to cause problems. You're going to probably have to see some type of medical people because you either got heat exhaustion or dehydration or something really bad. It also can cause problems like arrhythmia and heart problems when you start getting that low and you get out of imbalance. So if anyone has heart problems, you definitely want to minimize the amount of dehydration you undergo.
Yeah.
One of the best ways to tell, and this is a little graphic, is when you go to the bathroom, if it's yellow, drink. You want to be pretty clear with when you're going to the bathroom. That's kind of the gauge. Because the more water you take in, the more it's diluted, and you can kind of tell that way. If you just physically can't tell with your own body, that's the easiest way to tell. It's a little, yeah, but it works. There's tons of fans. There's the rack. Stand in front of the fan, open up. You can pretty much do whatever you need to cool down in there. You're allowed to have one handler in there. I think they're still doing that.
Yep.
Yeah. One handler, everyone else that might be in your posse has to wait outside. So if you need a helper, you get one, and then you're good, because they don't want a lot of people in there, especially when it gets around time for the parade, or masquerade, or dances. It gets really busy in there. So they want to keep traffic to a minimum. If it's like, probably like now, it's probably not too busy. Occasionally, like another person might come in, it's not too bad, but definitely during those times, just one person and keep it to a minimum. So that's pretty much all the basic stuff for just being out and about and taking care of it. And proper ownership, I guess you could say, the owner's manual to the suit. Next up is a little bit about performance and some of the rules with, I mean, not rules,
on the backside.
Yeah. Not really rules, just well, to some diehard people, there's some rules, but to everybody else, it's just suggestions. The thing with getting a new suit is you want to try to get into some sort of character. For most people, some people just are happy to be in a suit and they walk around and they talk, and it's just them as their character. Some people like to actually create a character. Some people like to get really deep into a character.
Some of those people are fun to mess with because
Yeah.
you tweak them the right way and they just might break character, and other ways they might just kick you, but it's fun.
Yeah. And they're really fun to interact with. Like, if you're really good at charades, consider being that type of character because it's pretty entertaining. If you're not so good at charades, you know, find whatever works for you. The one thing is too, is like when you first get into a suit, look at yourself, get in a mirror, look at yourself, and just think, you know, what you are. You're this now. Find out how your body works.
How will you act?
Yeah, how will you act? Where's your tail at? What type of walk might make your tail go back and forth in a certain pattern? With my alligator, he has a 3-foot long tail that's suspended straight out off the back. When I walk, if I do a typical animation double bounce walk, which is where you bounce on every step, the tail will literally sway. and it looks like it's moving. I found that out just by walking around and watching a video of it later and going, oh, wow, that works really well. And that's how I walk in him all the time. When I'm out of him, that's still how I walk if I've worn that suit for a couple hours. And people will call me on it. At home, at work, even in the office. Literally. I came home from a con, and for a week afterwards, I'd catch myself walking down the aisle at work, and people be like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, oh crap, phantom syndrome. So when you really get into it, it's really fun, and you don't even realize it after a while.
Okay, it's like another thing, it's like, how would a dog walk, you know? If a dog was on 2 legs instead of 4, you know, sometimes they'd have their hands out, or just a little begging look, make sure they look cute.
Yeah.
The basics. There are other panels past this one that will go more in depth.
Most important things with the first time shooter is to know like the basics of how your suit operates. So like your eye line, where you're seeing, where you're able to see. You don't want to be looking at everyone like this because you have to look that way to see, because they're going to think you're going to looking at the floor when you're looking at them. So kind of figure out where your head's looking when you're looking at people, so that you can portray like in photographs and things that you're actually looking at something. Just find out where that is. It's pretty easy. Find out your field of vision. I've had suits that have great field of vision, and you can look around and it's kind of like the area you can see if you went like this around a pair of glasses and maybe block the middle a little bit. And that's not too bad, you can see everything. I've had suits where it was like this. You literally couldn't see directly in front of you, but you have to walk and tilt your head a little bit to be able to see straight ahead. So you kind of work that into the character, walk and tilt their head, and, you know, make the character interesting as you're walking, and you can still look straight ahead. I've been in suits where you had almost no vision, and that's where you have to just kind of scan around as you're walking and see where everything is. Your brain's really good at building a picture of what's around you by little snippets of what it sees. And the more you look around, the more it'll build, and the more you'll know where you're at and where things are. Just be careful and know where you're looking and where obstacles might be, and you're usually pretty good with that. Anything else on that?
Oh shoot. Sorry, brain fart.
There's a lot of stuff back here on performance and things. There's actually a really good thing on here actually from Santa Fox. It's a guide to character performance. The URL's back there and back. There's a lot of different things he goes over. There's a couple panels for performance and stuff online. Even going online and just watching mascot videos and seeing how people interact with other people, especially the public. Interacting with the public can be crazy because you never know what you're going to get or expect or have happen. So you can have some really good things happen, you can have some really funny things happen, you can have some really bad things happen.
I heard a story from Big Panda over here. Was it walking out in public, and a few, I'm guessing say black ladies came on by and started shaking their booty with you. You kind of yuck it up at times. Then was it someone in an Escalade come on by?
Yes, I was,
Go ahead.
it was, I think it was yesterday.
Yes.
And there was like a group, you know, of black ladies. They came up. They were like, "Oh my God, it's a panda! Oh, we need to take a picture." You know, and you know, they ran across the street, took photos with me and everything. And then, you know, as soon as they walked back, they started singing a song since, you know, they good and all. So it's like, yeah, yeah. And I started dancing on the sidewalk, and then they started going crazy. They're like, "Oh my God!" You know. And then all of a sudden, this guy, like in this black Escalade or something, just started playing his music even louder. And then, you know, I was like, you know, break dancing and everything. And, you know, it just went up from there.
And that's one of the good things, like when you're out in public. You can have stuff like that happen. It's amazing, and it's just totally random. You never know when it's going to happen or how it's going to happen.
Yes, roll with it.
Yeah, just roll with it, because I mean, if you just get kind of stodgy about it, it's, you know, you might end up actually turning something that's fun into nothing, a missed opportunity.
Yeah, bland is not good in suit.
Yeah. An example of like a kind of bad experience was when I was in suit at another convention. It was an anime convention, and suiters anime conventions are like diamonds in the middle of a field of stones because you get sought out because you're usually so unique compared to all the people wearing Naruto crap. So I had someone. I had my gator suit dressed up like King Cruel from Donkey Kong Country. So, yeah, he had the wrist cuffs and a big flowing cape I made and the crown and everything. And I'm walking around the con, and out in the distance, somewhere out here where I can't see, because my field of vision with that, because of the muzzle on it, kind of stops at like the midway level of the walls, unless I'm specifically looking down. I just hear like this Doppler radar effect of squeak as someone runs towards me and dives onto me to hug me. I could not hear it coming, and it almost knocked me clean backwards onto my butt. But I couldn't see her because she happened to be like 5 foot something short, and she was just under my field of vision. If it wasn't for the fact that I had a friend behind me that kind of caught my arm, I would have landed flat on my butt because of that. It was interesting, it was kind of cool, but it was also really bad because who knows how I could have fell and got hurt.
Or something broke on the suit.
Or yeah, so like I would have landed right on my tail, and the tail is like a masterwork of engineering that I don't know if I could ever build again at this point. So, you know, it would have been a soft landing because it's fuzzy, but it would have hurt because there's metal in there. But it was just one of those things that tends to happen when you're in a different group. And a Furcon is different because everyone kind of expects it. You have suits, they're there, you're used to them. But at other cons, or in the public, it's something totally different. You never see it, so people tend to gravitate towards it.
Society is different. Furcons are almost all the same.
Yeah. You go to Furcon pretty much in any locale in the world, and you're going to have a very similar experience with a different cast of characters. But you get into the public, and it's different no matter where you're at, because you don't know who's in the public in what area or what they're doing. Go to an anime con, you never know what's going to happen because you don't know how they're going to react to a furry. They could, you know, the typical 4chan people.
Betards.
Yes, betards and retards. They might, you know, oh, blah, 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 you know, typical blah, blah, blah. Roll with it. Screw with them. You might make a friend. It's happened before. And you have people that just, like, secretly love it. And they're like, oh my god, this is so awesome. And then you can strike up a conversation or play with them, mess with them, and they walk away with a really good perception of what's happening. And so when you're out in the public, it's very different to deal with.
A good example of that is that Unfortunate actually trolled Anthrocon a few years ago. Out when it was Fursuiting, and they were actually protesting across the street, pretty much where Corey's is right now. Uncle Kakamushi himself actually went out,
And Giza.
and Giza, you remember this obviously, and stood out with umbrellas there, just holding it up so they wouldn't get wrecked. And they struck up a conversation and whatnot, and eventually those protesters actually came in the con and registered.
So yeah, it's little stuff like that. It might change the perception or just at least let you have fun. That's all it's about, is having fun, being yourself, doing something different besides the norm. If this were the 60s, we'd all be weird hippies. And that's pretty much 60s, 70s, if you're in California today. But yeah, there's some actually really kind of specific things with the general public that I have here. You definitely want to have a handler person with you, unless you're just going rogue and really are good at it, and you're not too far from the convention center. You can get away with it, but if you're really new to it, for sure, definitely you want to have someone with you to spot for the people that might be causing trouble, especially when you're in large groups of suits. You kind of want to have at least one spotter for every 2 suits, just so there's enough coverage if something can happen. Children are kind of that wild card. You never know which way they're gonna fall. When you like, you could roll a dice and they can come up 1 and suddenly they're kicking you. You come up 6 and they're hugging you. They can cry. They can run, screaming. You never know what's going to happen. The best thing to deal with them is you don't actually approach them. You let them come to you. You don't do anything that's proactive. You do reactionary things to them. You do it at their comfort level. You stoop down to their level, kind of get down to that area and interact with them that way. If they don't look like they want to be bothered, don't bother them. If they, if the parents are around, they look kind of about it, and the kid even looks kind of happy, just kind of play it safe. That's the typical kind of way to react to it, really. You don't want to be very in their face because you don't know how they're going to react.
Another thing on this one is you'll see at a lot of the Disney parks these days, since everything is becoming so PC, when sometimes children want to be hugged, if you can reach an arm around them, but if, let's say, if a photo is being taken, try to have your paws up. Because if someone's saying, oh, your paw is touching his or her so-and-so.
Yeah, and that's there's a lot of false perceptions and stuff like that, and the best thing to do is just avoid it by acting like that. Look at some of the stuff that happened in Disney with character actors, like the Tigger incident, where he was, what was it? I can't remember if it was something with a kid and there was a fight, and it just totally unprofessional type of acting, and caused a huge stake. And everyone saw it. It was on the news around the country. Yeah, YouTube. It was caught on video, of course, because everything is now. So it caused a lot of ripples, and you don't want that to happen, especially with something that's you and not some corporate character. Because corporate characters act right. It's like, oh well, I lost my job, but hey, no one knows it's me. If it's your suit, it's like, oh, it's okay, I'm banned from this convention because I did something horribly unspeakable while I was in the suit, and everyone knows it. It's just one of those things to be careful of, is the way you're perceived, how you're acting. You don't want to be coming on to someone, unless it's, playful stuff, keep it very PG. You definitely, yeah, bad.
No home for you.
Yeah. The typical things like if someone's standoffish, stay away from them. There's people that are deathly afraid of mascots.
They're fun to mess with.
They're fun to mess with, but those aren't usually the deathly afraid ones. I know I worked with someone who literally ran screaming from one when we had one summer work. She saw it, immediately spun around and ran away from it, and was in the break room for the last hour of her shift because she wouldn't leave until those were out of the way. And that's just one of those insane kind of things.
People do have their phobias.
Yeah, people have phobias for lots of different things, and when that happens, it's unfortunate, but it's also hilarious. When you're out in public too, keeping interactions with the public short is good too, because leave them wanting more. You don't want to get wear out your welcome and have them get bored and figure, oh, well, now I'm going to screw with you because you're boring me. Just get in there, get out, kind of thing. When you're out in public, try not to dehead as much as you can, especially around children, because you will blow their minds probably. They will need therapy. It will be bad. They will end up on some special on TLC about repressed, painful youth or something, because that's all they show anymore.
Don't run screaming from mascots when they're adults.
Exactly. Yeah. That's
probably
kind of
why.
the typical thing. It's like pop. Oh God. Brain break.
Memory.
Gone. So that's usually the best thing to do is kind of tuck away somewhere where you can, if there's a little alleyway, or if you can get into a store or something that might have an area you can get into, or just a doorway or something, and have your spotter kind of block it a little bit so you can get out and breathe and do what you have to do.
Phrase goes, don't ruin the magic.
Yes, don't ruin the magic. Don't ruin the magic unless the magic needs to be ruined. And that's if you're just in such a bad shape that you cannot function. Don't try to be a hero. Get it off. You're better off not dying or getting hurt than you are possibly scarring a child. As bad as that sounds, it's totally true. And the scars heal. It's okay. But yeah, just be very aware of that kind of thing. Where be aware of your body out in public, and make sure you've got water, someone carrying water with you, because that's the most important thing. Is also hydration, things like that. Be very careful with that kind of stuff. There's a bunny. Why is there a bunny? What? What are you doing? You should get in here. Get in here with your bad stuff. You fix yours. Yeah, see? Hi, welcome the bunny to the panel. If you want to talk a little bit about character interaction, this bunny is one that you should probably watch on, because he's quite good at it.
He's one of the, I guess you could say, I don't want to say elder.
Oh no, he's only 3 years old. You know.
He's like one of the more professionals.
Yeah.
He's been doing it since the dawn of time.
Yeah.
Dawn of
There are
shooting.
hieroglyphs of this bunny.
Yes.
I've seen them. Yeah. So that's why, if you're looking for performance stuff, go people watching. And just watch what people are doing. Keep an eye on them. See what they do. Good art and good performance are almost always stolen. So swipe a little bit from people. Take it, make it your own.
Yes.
Remember, nothing's original.
Don't swipe watches. Yeah, he needs that.
Yes. Take him out back.
Yeah.
Don't kill the poor bunny.
It's okay. We want awesome pepper. Aww.
Bunny needs a hug.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if you're gonna have anything with performance stuff, look for him. Look for anyone that you see that has suitors with crowds. Like, you can tell usually when something's really good because people are gonna be watching it. They're gonna be walking around, bouncing their step, they're happy. Unless their character is miserable, then hey, they're gonna be miserable. There's so many different ways you can go with characters. You're never miserable. Stop that. You have people like Twitch the Wolf. He's punk rock wolf. He is just entirely angry, and that's how his character is. He's not like that in person really, but his character is just very in your face.
Just don't get him angry.
Yeah, just don't get him angry. It'll get very yelly, and it's usually entertaining though.
Please don't.
Don't worry. I'll just tell him Flipper's awesome. He'll be fine. So there's a lot of different ways you can do it. You can have sad characters. You can have happy characters. You can have characters with a fair amount of brain issues. If you really want to get interesting, he's got the brain damage. But there's a lot of different fun things you can do. We've got a little bit of time. We're pretty much over everything. Want to open it up to the floor?
Any questions, comments, concerns?
Sure, there's some.
Yes, in the back first.
Did you guys go over ice packs and vests and such?
Didn't go over. I have a friend actually that really does suggest them. He has an ice neck thing. When you cool your neck down, it's one of the best ways to stay cool because a lot of your blood's going through your arteries and your veins in your neck. They make the electric coolers that have metal pads that sit right here, and they've got a fan in the back, and it circulates air around, and the metal pads get cold because they're heat sinks, and they keep your neck cool, and that will help your body stay cool. He has an ice pack vest. It works quite well, he says, but it only lasts a certain finite amount of time, and you have to have a place to freeze it when you're done. So at a convention, if you have a hotel room that has a freezer or fridge or something, you're good. If you don't, it's a little harder to use it.
I suggest that you go with the neck if you're having to choose between chest, neck, or whatever ice padding that you want to use. Neck or somewhere around the head region, because you put in a lot of your heat comes to your head.
Exactly.
And that's the quickest way to shut down your body, is getting too much heat in your head. So if you've got a neck pack on, your blood, as it's going to your head, is cooling down as it's going past that. So
Yeah.
you're going to have a cool head the entire time.
It's like liquid cooling for your brain.
Yes.
A friend of mine's actually working on making, if anyone's familiar with NASA and the way spacesuits work, the climate control garment that goes under a spacesuit, he's working on building one for his fursuit. So he's physically going to get like a dive skin and sew in the thin lines into it and run it through a heat exchanger off of a liquid cooling setup for a computer. And it'll probably work pretty well. He's pretty good at what he does.
So similar, in fact, Lion of the Sun, I think he may be here at AC. He was selling a similar suit, similar cooling suit, for the past like 2-3 years now. That it's basically liquid cooling chest suit.
It uses air.
Based on-
Yeah, it's an air
It's air.
cooling system.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've heard it works pretty well. I never tried it before, but I heard that works pretty well too.
Ah, it's bulky.
Anyone else? No, you have.
What do you do if you wear glasses?
One of the best things you can do is they make anti-fog spray for inside of windshields of cars, and they also make anti-fog spray for inside of scuba masks. If you get your hands on that, spray the glasses down, and you can wear them on a suit and they won't fog up. If you can't fit your head into a suit with glasses, you might want to invest in contacts if you can wear them.
Or LASIK.
Or LASIK if you can really afford them. You know, if you're Rockefeller.
They do payments.
Yeah, they do payments. Some insurance companies are finally starting to cover it, but it's really rare. If you can get a smaller pair of glasses that fit in the head well, you can do that. If you have a really small head, your glasses can kind of fit over. Some people do that, though it looks funky. If you have an old pair of glasses, some people have taken the lenses out of them and placed them into the suit. So that right in the eyes are lenses. The only problem with that is you definitely have to use anti-fog because your eyes are one of the places where air flows through the suit head. So you got to have something to keep that from happening. But I have contacts. I've never actually had the problem of wearing glasses in the suit. But a lot of makers even will compensate for, you know, oh, I wear glasses, there needs to be room in the head if you can just possibly do that. And they'll make enough room, and then all you have to worry about is just keeping them from fogging. And they make sprays, and if you're really in a pinch for some reason, you're stuck out and it starts fogging, spin. It's just like when you do it in a dive suit. Wipe it on there, it'll be blurry a little bit, but you'll still be able to see. Like if I do this, I can't see any faces. So having it be a little bit blurry and being able to read signs and see things is better than not being able to see it all. But someone, yeah.
State IDs for just personal identification mainly. If a cop gets called for a suspicious person or anything like that, it's good for you having an ID.
Yeah. A lot of people, especially a lot of people go to tonic to drink. One of the places you can always tuck an ID somewhere. Some people have pockets put into their feet of their suit. They'll have a pocket sewn in so they can stuff things. There's con badge holders that have pockets built in. When I'm out, usually I'll take, if I don't have one of the smartest things to do, get a hole punch and put your room key on the lanyard. Then you don't have to deal with losing it. I learned that trick from Tilt, and now everyone that I'm around is always like, oh, that's awesome, do you have a hole punch? And I'm like, yep, go get a lanyard. Works perfectly. You can do with the ID, if you have a lanyard you can tuck it into, you put it in there. If you have a tight dive skin, you can tuck it into a sleeve.
For me, I just put mine in my foot.
Yeah, some people put them in their feet. Someone had a pocket in their head once, I saw. There's a lot of different ways you can kind of keep it on you. It's good to keep it on you. When you're in the convention center, it's not a big deal. If you're in the public, usually you kind of hand it to your spotter, and they can hold it. If you're by yourself, then yeah, you probably have to try and keep it on you somewhere. And there's lots of different places you can kind of hide it. Anything else?
Where's the room for the fursuit repair?
That's actually in the main convention center. the headless lounge there, right?
Yeah, if you go there, there's tables up against the back wall. I think the back wall.
It is. It's the back wall.
Yeah, and they have everything you need to get something fixed if you have to. And like I said, if you see some people in there that know what they're doing, they can fix things. If you know what you're doing, fix as much as you want.
Hot glue works too, but it's not too permanent.
Hot glue is your emergency fix. Why'd you bring cupcakes? Of course. Thank you. And we're actually done. It's 1. So.